Hello everybody, this is Starman, and welcome back to Let's Play Betrayal at Krondor. Well, last time you'll remember, we watched the opening of Chapter 8, and we are currently on some strange alien world. And the biggest takeaway from the opening movie is that whatever world this is, something has happened to the magic. So, we don't know where Pug is, we don't know where Gamina is, and Owyn is effectively powerless. Or at least he would be if I hadn't taken advantage of the game physics in some creative ways and made him a fairly decent warrior on his own. But we can see that there's no vegetation, just all of these jagged crystalline rocks, which admittedly, with 1993 graphics, it's a little hard to tell, but we do have this red structure here, and this is one more reason for us to be thankful we brought the spyglass with this party, as we can come here and click on this, and Owyn opened the door. Inside the alien structure they found a variety of odd-shaped objects, some made from wood, others fashioned from rock or crystal. "I feel strange vibrations in the air here," said Goref. "This place is unlike the others we have seen. Perhaps we should look around." And we have found these raw mana. As Owyn rattled the mana in his cupped hands, violent pulses of blue light flashed between individual shards and prickled his fingers. Though he had never encountered it in this form, he sensed the crystals were magical. Perhaps mana, the very essence of magic. It would still need to be converted into a form they could use. And there is a note. I'm going to put the note into our inventory to read it. Thomas, as Catalan no doubt summoned you, I imagine you have heard most of the pertinent details leading up to the time of my departure from Medkemia. I will give you the details of the circumstances once we meet, but I think it is more pressing you know certain facts. Do not depend on magic. It does not function here in any way I comprehend, and I have concluded that something something has become of the mana. Its absence may, in some way, relate to a second factor I've discovered about this planet. I don't know to what extent your inherited senses have already told you this, but there appears to be evidence that this world was visited by your Valheru benefactors. A violent race exists here similar to the Panafians, similar enough that I think surely they must have been stranded here by Alma Lodak during the time of the Valheru raids across the cosmos. You could surely judge better than I. Alma Lodak being the Valheru mother of snakes who created the Pentafian race. And the Pentafians worship her as a goddess, and most of their scheming is meant to resurrect her with the belief that they will become the new chosen race in the world that is built afterward. Anyway, Gamina is still missing as yet, and I have made a sweep of the entire island. I'm going to head to the northern tip of the island to a ruin I spotted there earlier. Perhaps I will find answers there. Pug of Stardock. And we will want to put this into Owyn's inventory, so switch that to him. And we saw some structures this way as well. And I believe there is enemy of some type. And yeah, more crystals here. I don't think we'll be able to get to all those with... Yeah, the creatures howled. Stunned by the sudden assault, they thrashed about angrily as Owyn's stomach tied itself in knots. As many times as he found himself in a fight, he could never shake the strange feeling he was about to die. And yeah, these creatures... Well, I think we can get a description of them here. Owyn studied his opponent. While it's possible he could be grossly misjudging some of the Nefermander's abilities, he was absolutely certain about certain facts. Health 92, Stamina 75, Speed of 2, Strength 53, Melee Skill 79. Yeah, these giant ant-like creatures are called Nefermanders, and they are incredibly annoying. Not only because they have nearly as many hit points as we do, with everything we've done to buff ourselves up, but they have insanely high defense, and as we'd be able to find out, if Owyn could cast a spell, they are invincible to magic. fair bit of these crystals in there. So yeah, as we discovered from that note, Pug is apparently headed northward, so that is the direction we will go. And now here's the other enemy that we're going to run into a lot here. And if you're thinking this guy looks familiar, well, yes and no. The Panathiadin. Hadn't noticed them. Yeah, this will get revealed a bit later on, but basically these are a weaker version of the Pantathian serpent men, who they don't have magical ability, they just have slings and stones. Owyn charged forward. He was more than a little relieved to see that their surprise advance was totally unexpected. He'd hoped the momentary advantage would be enough to shift the odds in their favor. Of course, now we've got two Nevermanders to deal with at the same time, but thankfully their slings don't do much damage, but they can take a lot of abuse. Or could, if it weren't for me being so hoss now. And Owyn's melee just went up to 73%, so that's something. And got another building here. Owyn nudged open the strange door. He gritted his teeth, waiting for a surprise attack. When none came, he pushed the door open for a little fervor, and walked inside. He was stunned to find each wall completely covered with indecipherable symbols and markings. His attention was also drawn to a dark-colored box in the far corner of the room. Moving closer to it, he felt a strange tingling in his fingers, a sensation not unlike the one he felt immediately prior to casting a particularly powerful spell. The feeling pulled him in, and without even being aware of the possible dangers involved, he grabbed a box and threw open the lid. Inside, he found a dark crystal staff. Holding the staff in his left hand, he held up his right palm and whispered a simple incantation. Flames leapt from his hand. "I can't explain it," Owyn said, "but this staff has rejuvenated my magic. It's as if the staff has been formed of, I don't know, crystallized mana." And yes, we now have a staff. I'm going to have to shift inventory a bit in order to make room for it. And in fact, we'll have to step outside, because I don't think Goraf has room for anything right now. And we don't need this shell anymore. Okay, so we'll switch our staff out and go ahead and get rid of the lightning staff that we won so long ago. Not that I've been using the spells on it very much, but I don't think this will function here since there's something wrong with the magic. And more importantly, well, spoiler, the final level of the game will be entirely underground, so you won't be able to use the Skyfire spell or anything that casts it anyway. And something that makes this a whole lot easier that I don't think they ever made clear, you can click on these yellow crystals, just the yellow, and you can get mana from them. And read this. The staff suggested a great deal about its parent culture. Artificed with as much attention to physical as metaphysical properties, its obsidian-like point had been honed to razor sharpness, giving the bearer a formidable weapon which could be used to stab as well as focus spells. And the damage rating on this is 12 plus strength, 5 plus strength for swinging, though curiously enough it was made for human. And it can only hold up to 100 points of magic at a time. And of course it draws upon that point, so we'll be keeping an eye out for yellow crystals as we walk around. And we did manage to surprise this group of Nevermanders. but I'm not going to bother casting a spell on them because, as I said, they are magically immune. Yeah, this fight is meant to be much more challenging, but we got another group of snake men in the distance, but we'll go ahead and wait until light. Okay. Yeah, that one step back will keep them from seeing me, apparently. We managed to surprise them. And yeah, just to make the point. Yeah, you'll note it did absolutely nothing. So yeah, primitive snake men with no magical abilities. They're no less hardy, but gosh, the slings get annoying after a bit. And somehow my stealth ability increased and all that. And yeah, we don't find any loot on them, apart from maybe the occasional ration, but we're well equipped in that regard, so I'll just keep going. The enemy was surprised. These creatures resemble the Serpent Man, Gorif hisses as they rush forward. When we had dealings with the Pentafians during the Great Rising, even Delicon despised them. If these radiate their kin, I would have every last one of them dead. You make it your wish, Owyn replied, assuming they don't kill us first. Yeah, that's a bit unlikely, but thankfully these things do detect as evil. And I'm not going to bother doing spells with Owyn anymore. Because we'll need to save the crystals for our final attack in this chapter when we will need the magic. And there was some enemy here that I didn't spot first. Thankfully, as I said, the Panaptians, or weak snake men, really aren't much of a challenge, given how I've built my party up. And we somehow wound up on the far side of where those crystals are. The building was empty. At Owyn's insistence, they conducted a quick search, but finding nothing of interest, soon left to resume their search. And there's another snake man. Owyn opened the door. Inside the alien structure, they found a variety of odd-shaped objects, some made of wood, and, I feel strange vibrations in the air here, said Gorif. This place is unlike the others we have seen. Yeah, funny how it's Goraf sensing the vibrations and not Owyn, but... note. Thomas. While I discovered no evidence of Gamina at the ruin, I have learned that the mana on this planet has undergone metamorphic constant creation, or in simpler terms, transformed into crystal. As there is no natural phenomena that can account for this, I can only assume the change was engineered by an agency of the most supreme order. It is doubtful the Valharu could have mastered it, as it would have had cataclysmic effects beyond their control, though it may have given Drake and Corrin the inspiration for the Lifestone under Sephinon. Drake and Corrin being the Valharu Lord of Tigers, and the one who created the Lifestone. Anyway, I can only assume at this point that the ancient gods of this planet may have used the tactic to drive away the Valharu. Again, this you would know better than I. I made my discovery when I touched one of the crystal columns in the ruin, and sensed the power of it. At the same time, I sensed within what I will tentatively call an intelligence, because I felt the stirrings of mind speech, though no specific thought ever formed. If you go to the ruin, do not touch the central column. I felt gravely ill for several days after touching this particular column, though I am not certain of the cause, and avoided the rest thereafter. Perhaps after I have found Gamina, I will have the opportunity to learn more. Yeah, this is a bit of a mistake or something else, but the central column is actually going to be pretty safe to touch. It's the one in the back right that's going to be dangerous for us, but again, spoiler. And we surprised another enemy, and we got 5 of them this time. And still not going to bother with the spell. Alright, maybe I will do one small spell here. And Grief of 1,000 Nights, curiously, does not seem to work on the Snake Men. Odd that. And yeah, they're a little difficult to make out here, but these are the columns Pug wrote about. And we will limit ourselves to clicking on this one for now, because yes, even now, I'm still going to metagame the system. Owyn hesitated. Shimmering in the hellish alien heat, it seemed probable the sun-warmed crystal would blister him if he touched it, but he was curious what material the glass-like pillar had been made of. Privately, he wondered if the serpent people they had encountered in the desert plains had been responsible for the enigmatic monoliths, but somehow this idea seemed wrong to him. No. The pillars of Karzin were not crafted by the Panaftiandan, a voice whispered in his mind. We made ourselves. Horrified by the sudden, unintended intrusion of the alien presence within his mind, Owyn drew back from the column, but the intruder remained. We 7 were the gods of Timuriana, Savane. I myself was once Datsavan, Lord of Gates. But once the Valharu brought their wars of desolation, we narrowly averted the great star death. I don't know what any of the things you're saying mean, Owyn replied. I have heard a very little bit about the elven old ones called the Valharu, but beyond that, it is unimportant, Savane, the voice said. What we were is lost beyond regaining, but there is still time yet to save your people from the same fate. Our world? Owyn asked. The Valharu have been dead on my world for a time beyond reckoning. They can't pose any threat to us. A feeling of disinterest washed through him as the god brushed aside the question. The one you know as Pug of Stardock will tell you more when the time comes, for you and the Wanderer to make your choices. For now, you must bring to this place the Clup of Lyn Skur. Do this, and we will free Pug from his captivity. Suddenly suspicious about the nature of the entity which spoke to him, he worded his reply carefully. If you are a god, why do you need me to fetch a cup for you? And why should I trust a bodiless someone who claims to have imprisoned the one we look for? You are wise to question, the voice replied. but it is mine alone to know the truth. You may do as I ask and bring to me the cup of Run Skur, or you may perish in the desolation of Tirmiana. The choice is yours. I warn you, however, it would be an unwise decision to utilize its powers. Pug has already learned this lesson. Okay, so the gods of this world are apparently within these 7 columns, and they made themselves, and now we have to go find a cup. Well, it's not the stupidest quest we've undergone, but we will go ahead and close this chapter out, and next time we will begin the search for the cup of Riln Skur. We'll see you next time.